one of the new segments I came up with is called Unpack That Text. So I thought I would see what you guys do at this. And the idea is like I'll take a vague or loaded or emotionally suspicious text message and decode what's actually going on underneath it. At least that's what you'll do, hopefully. Wow, does that sound like something you can do?
Probably. We do it
Uh,
in our office frequently enough.
let's take a shot. I'm willing to take
Right.
a crack at it. And if it sucks, and we'll not use it, right?
Yeah. So this is kind of like the Am I the Asshole ones. I went out and I found somebody who had shared this. So I have a little bit of feedback and some of the stuff from the internet. So I'll give you what they said. And I made it a little bit more discreet by removing some of the details. But my sister texted me last week, "Can we talk later? No emoji, no details, no punctuation, just dread in a sentence."
Dun dun
Immediately,
dun.
Immediately, I panicked, my stomach dropped, and I started scanning our last conversation, trying to figure out if I had offended someone or missed something important. I even checked her social media to see if there was something bad that had happened that I had missed. 4 hours later, she called about planning our dad's birthday. Nothing serious at all. When I told her the text scared me, she said, "Wow, you must have been stressed, like I was the problem." But she sends text messages like this all the time, vague, abrupt, emotionally confusing. My friends say the message was neutral and I overreacted, but I'm wondering, like, is this common? Am I reading too much into it?
Well, I would say if it's coming for your sister, I think, first and foremost, my gut here says you've got to think about not just your audience when you're speaking, but the speaker and how they communicate. And in this case, it sounds like this is just MO for the sister.
Yeah. I mean, but I also want to say, is it common? Yes. Are you
Right.
overreacting? Yes. I mean, it's like the one-to-one your boss puts on your schedule for next week. It's like, and then with the quick fire of the email, hey, could you let me know what the agenda is for the meeting so I can prepare for it? Which really means I'm terrified about this meeting. Can you please assist me to become less terrified? I don't think that's an unusual response. I do think what we want to do is, and Gail, it's coming probably. We want to assume positive intent. And it may be appropriate to say, like, especially for the sister, you can go, okay, this is what she does.
Right, right.
But
No, I totally agree with you. Assume positive intent or no nefarious intent, right? Leave it
yeah,
as sort of a blank slate because that's how it's delivered. And I actually, by the way, I think I have a really good confessions from the couch maybe segment
that
about this. So
applies. That applies.
it applies, and I think we're just going to save that little nugget for a different
Sure.
segment. But I think in this case, because of who is sending the text and that kind of typical crypticness, assume at least
Hmm.
neutral intent here. But I think you're right. I think we do really very normally jump to this awful
Hmm.
catastrophizing, because in this day and age, we put emojis in a text message to soften it or create, some intent or something like that. So, I mean, I get why she did it. I think my only thought here is because it's the sister and this is how she does
Right.
the thing, then, you know, it, you just know we all have
Right.
that family member who calls and they want you to call back but they don't leave a voicemail. There's just
And
a pattern that you follow and it's because it's that person.
right. And to some degree, our brains are hardwired to look for danger.
Absolutely. I
And
was
if our
talking about
brains
you.
are hardwired to look for
Right.
danger and we get an ambiguous text, we have to maybe push back on that in our own heads and say, wait a second, this is an ambiguous text. It probably doesn't mean this. It might, but it probably, and to like not necessarily run down that path of trying to figure it out. We could always ask, like, what's this? She could have responded, like, what's the topic? Oh, dad's birthday. Oh, okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Like she
Yeah.
like
And
it wouldn't
diffuse it
have
really
been.
quickly.
It would have been a really quick conversation if she was really nervous. But being aware that we do tend to look for negatives or look for danger, that skews our judgment.
Yeah.
I think generationally too, there's a difference, right? In the way people text communicate. I know like punctuation can seem daunting if it's there, like if it's a proper sentence or something like that, people read into it. One of the things that
The
the
lack of punctuation changes the meaning entirely.
Yeah, apparently, what I heard from my young adults is that like the period at the end of the sentence means I'm kind of annoyed with you. So like leave off the punctuation. Unless you're an old person, then they go, oh, it's an old person. Probably.
Oh no, if you're an old person, then you sent the text, you went, shit, I didn't put in punctuation. So then you add the question mark as a whole separate text
Right, right,
to make sure that it landed.
right.
Sorry, Marco, we interrupted you.
That's okay. No, but I think one of the interesting conversations that came out of it was, and you guys said this, like, right, you know, the sister, you know, this is how she communicates. You know, if it's the start of a relationship and you're figuring that out, then okay, that's a different kind of thing. But there's that who who is most responsible in the thing? Like, if you as the sister always communicate in this way, and your sister knows, you know that your sister has a stress reaction to short and abbreviated things, like who should soften their tone, or how should they compromise to get to a point where they communicate effectively?
Both of them.
Yes,
Right?
yes.
I mean, I think
Yeah.
it's on the sister to realize that she's coming off in a way that's maybe freaking people out. But the reality is, OP here needs to also do her own internal work on clearly some
Hmm.
underlying level of just kind of heightened anxiety. And perhaps people pleasing and perfectionism, because, that kind of jump to, oh my gosh, did I do wrong? Is my sister pissed at me? Sort of smacks of that vigilance to that type of thing. Now, again, I'm not
Hmm.
prescribing therapy for this person, but I'm just saying, like, it would do some good to be a bit self-reflective of that pattern for this individual, so that they could quickly, kind of use a tool to walk themselves to a less catastrophized, awful place.
Well, thanks. We'll see if this segment reoccurs. Obviously, there are lots of text to unpack. As you said, there's even just the question mark. And what does that mean, you know? So,
Oh no, I mean, like, I'll write a thing. This is how old I am. I'll write a thing and then I'll realize I didn't tag it as a question mark. So it could be a declarative sentence. It could be a question. And I felt like the recipient needed to know that that was a question and not a statement. And so I'll send a whole nother like question mark. Although I've gotten better at editing sent text and then just fixing it, but I still can't bring myself to text without punctuation.
and as someone who's obsessive about notifications, I see the text come through and then it's changed. And I'm like, am I crazy? Did that just change? And I know it'll say like edit it anyway. Well, that's way too much, but thanks. Yeah, we'll see what else we have in store.